Hey everyone, how's everyone doing today? It is Barb with Halfway to Sane, and today we have a story about Richard Evonitz, who is a serial killer. Now, Richard Evonitz was born on July 29, 1963 in Columbia, South Carolina. His parents were Joseph and Tess Evonitz. He had two sisters, Kristen, who was born in July 1968, and Jennifer, who was born in March on 1971. He grew up in a dysfunctional household. His parents once separated when he was a baby, and then again when he was 12 years old. They officially divorced in 1985, and Richard's father was an alcoholic who frequently passed out after drinking. He also often belittled his family, calling them morons and peons. His father drowned his dog in front of him. His father also attempted to drown him when he was 6 years old. That was sick. Jennifer Evonitz said, growing up, they lived in a prison. She said her father was a very controlling person and he wanted the kids to make straight A's, and if they didn't, they were called stupid. It was all about power and control for him. He would say, you get an A or you get a beating. She stated he was a sadistic man getting pleasure out of making them miserable. After Richard graduated high school in 1980, he briefly worked as a manager of a Jiffy Lube before he joined the Navy. He served as a sonar technician and received the Good Conduct Medal before being honorably discharged after 8 years of service. Following after the Navy, he worked steadily at businesses that sold compressors and grinding equipment. Unable to keep up with his bills following a divorce, he filed for bankruptcy in 1997. His house was foreclosed on in 1997 after a failed business venture. At the time of his death, Richard had been working at an air compressor company since moving to South Carolina a few years earlier. Women at work avoided him because of his misogynistic attitude and anger management issues. His criminal history seemingly started about 1987. On January 3, 1987, Richard Evonitz pulled up beside 15-year-old Kelly Ballard in his car in Jacksonville, Florida, and exposed himself and masturbated while she walked her 3-year-old sister down the street. The following day, Richard was seen following Kelly and her mother in a mall parking lot. Kelly and her mother took down his license plate information and alerted the police. He was arrested a month later when his ship returned to port. He entered a plea of no contest and was sentenced to 3 years probation. Richard told the police he had a problem masturbating in front of girls. The murder of Sarah Sherry on July 6, 1988, 12-year-old Sarah Margaret Sherry was abducted while babysitting at a home in a rural part of Bowdoin, Maine. Several days later, Sarah's body was found hidden in a wooded area. She had been bound with rope, sexually assaulted with birch sticks, stabbed, and then strangled with a scarf. Excuse me. On March 18, 1989, Dennis Duchesne was convicted for the murder. However, he has filed a number of appeals maintaining that he is innocent, and the circumstances surrounding his conviction remain controversial. Richard Evonitz served as a sonar technician aboard the USS Kolsch, which was based in Portland, Maine, from May 18, 1988 to May 31, 1989. While the ship was undergoing a refit at the Bath Iron Works facility. Deidre Enright, the founder of the University of Virginia Law School's Innocent Project, has linked Richard Evonitz to Sarah Sherry's murder due to similarities with his modus operandi, which is an individual's habit of working. Richard had access to a white Toyota Corolla, similar in description to a vehicle sighted near where Sarah's body was found, and he was known to have frequently visited Brunswick Naval Air Station Commissary, 13 miles from Bowdoin. DNA evidence recovered Sarah's body was unable to be compared to Richard's profile due to being deemed insufficient. Dennis DeShanes remains incarcerated at Maine State Prison in Warren, Maine. At 7:30 a.m. on March 2, 1996, 25-year-old Elisa Showalter Reynolds left her Baltimore, Maryland residence to drive to Charlottesville, Virginia. At 6 p.m., Alicia's car was found abandoned along a highway near Culpeper, Virginia. Witnesses later came forward to police saying they had seen Alicia along Route 29 talking to a man with a blue pickup truck on the side of the road. Her body was discovered in a wooded area 15 miles of where she had gone missing on May 7, 1996. Although the cause of death has not been released, investigators believe that she had been murdered. On September 22, 1996, the burned remains of 20-year-old Anne Carolyn McDaniel were discovered by a sportsman exercising their dogs just 10 miles where Alicia Reynolds' body was found. Anne, who had cerebral palsy, was last seen leaving a group home for mentally and physically disabled adults in the town of Orange on September 18, 1996, trying to hitchhike along Route 29. Authorities believe Evonitz may have killed Anne McDaniel after discovering scribbled directions to Alicia Reynolds' dump site in one of his footlockers. So he left evidence behind, Dumbo. On September 9, 1996, Evonitz abducted 16-year-old Sophia Marlene Silva from her home in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, after returning from school near Lauriella Park. She was last seen doing her homework on her front steps and was taken without an apparent struggle or any witnesses. Her decomposed body was found a month later in Birchwood Creek in George County. She was wrapped in a white cover and her pubic hair had been shaved off. I don't think that happened with any of the other women or girls. May 1, 1997, Evonitz abducted sisters 15-year-old Kristen Michelle Lisk, better known as Christy, and 12-year-old Catherine Nicole Lisk, better known as Katie, from their front lawn in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. Both of them were last seen getting off of their respective school buses. Their father came home from work later to find no sign of his daughters except Christie's book bag laying discarded in the front lawn. After sexually assaulting them, Evonitz strangled the sisters and dumped their bodies in the South Anna River. Sorry, guys. I'm having trouble getting my breath today, not sure why. Their bodies were found 5 days later. But on June 24, 2002, Evonitz abducted 15-year-old Kara Robinson from a friend's yard in Columbia, South Carolina. He got out of his car and approached her, pretending to offer her some pamphlets. After she said her friend's parents were not home, Evonitz held a gun to her neck and forced her to get into a plastic bin. He took her to his apartment, raped her, forced her to smoke marijuana, and tied her to his bed. After watching the evening news about her abduction, he tied her to a homemade wooden apparatus to spread her legs. Kara was then able to free herself while Evonitz was asleep and escape and identify her abductor to the police using information she was able to find on Evonitz's fridge. What a smart girl. However, Evonitz had fled after finding Kara had gone. The police determined that the fibers from the furry handcuffs on Kara's wrists were also found on the bodies of Marlene Silva and the Lisk sisters. Kristen Lisk's handprint was also lifted from inside Evonitz's car trunk. In addition, in his apartment, police found nude photos of young girls, hundreds of pornographic images, and videotapes of children on his computer, including one of him molesting a young girl. and another of him masturbating to Polaroid photos of the other children. There were also a large number of girls' underwear which have never been linked to any of the individuals that he had abducted and killed. On June 27, 2002, Evonitz called his sister Jennifer, admitting to have committed more crimes than he can remember, and told her to meet him at an IHOP in Jacksonville, Florida. But she instead called the police and turned him in. Later that day, Evonitz was surrounded by police, and he was urged to surrender peacefully, but after a police dog was released, Evonitz shot himself and was declared dead at 10:52 a.m. What a freaking coward. That crap irritates me so much. Stand up and you want to do the crime? Stand up, be the sick man that you are, and take your punishment. At 15 years old, Kara Robinson displayed exemplary courage and intelligence when she escaped her abductor after being held captive and sexually assaulted for 18 hours. Not only did she help the police identify him and his other victims, but she also dedicated her life to helping out other child victims and survivors like herself. Alongside schooling, the 15-year-old took up a summer job at the Richland County Sheriff's Department, where she did administrative work. Later, Kara graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of South Carolina and joined the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. She joined the Sheriff's Department as a deputy sheriff in 2009 and worked with law enforcement officials for almost 5 years. A school resource officer, a sex crime and child abuse investigator, and a victims advocate are some of the Kara's roles during her stint with the police department. But once Kara left her police job in 2013, she became a full-time keynote speaker and social media influencer, using her social media platform to raise awareness about sexual abuse. For the past several years, she has been creating informative content to give a voice to survivors and has been pushing for better media representation and legal aid for victims of abuse. In addition, she is the host of a successful podcast and is working on a book about her experience. She was also featured in the 2021 documentary, Escaping Captivity. The Kara Robinson story played a crucial role in developing the Lifetime movie. In April 2011, Kara married Joseph Joe Chamberlain, whom she met while working at law enforcement. He is a police officer, and they took an instant liking to one another. The couples had a beautiful beach wedding in St. Lucia, surrounded by friends and family, before settling together in South Carolina. Kara and Joe have 2 sons together named Colton and Carter. Joe's former canine partner, Baz, was also a beloved pet for the family for several years till he died at 15 years old in 2022. The couple embarked on a new chapter in their lives when they sold their beautiful South Carolina home in July 2022. The same year, Kara and Joe adopted an adorable Belgian Malinois dog named Ty. The couple and their sons currently live and travel in an RV and have chosen to homeschool the boys. Though Kara's husband and sons prefer to lead a private life, she never fails to express her love and gratitude for them, considering them her biggest support system. No, we're going to get into this sick guy's ex-wife. Ex-wife of serial killer recalls now glaring red flags in marriage and talk about trust issues. A woman who was once married to serial killer Richard Evonitz shared the appalling moment she discovered she had married a madman who targeted and murdered teenage girls. Bonnie Lou Gower was just a teen in 1989 when she married Richard Evonitz, the brother of her classmate and 8 years her senior. Their 8-year relationship was peppered with shocking red flags, ranging from Evonitz not allowing Bonnie to attend college to frantically asking her if she would bolt from the country with him, a question he suspiciously asked around the time several girls in their community turned up dead. Looking back at that seems kind of crazy, but at the time, she just thought he was stressed out about work because it was a huge transition for him to get out of the military, move to Virginia, start a new life, and try to get a job. Bonnie stated the pair had been married several years at this point. Things with Evonitz were rocky from the jump, but she stayed in the marriage because she believed in the commitment she made. Although Bonnie didn't detail instances of physical abuse, she stated that her serial killer husband remanded her to their family home, disapproved of her going to school, finding work, or making new friends, and even controlled her weight. He limited the amount of money she was allowed to spend on phone calls to her family. She stated not having a lot of friends or anybody who she could talk to about her relationship. She really didn't know how different it was from the average marriage and really didn't have anybody to bounce things off of and find out what was normal, which was probably exactly what he wanted. It was in 1996 in Spotsylvania, Virginia, where the couple had moved after spending time in San Diego and South Carolina, that Ivanovich abducted and killed 16-year-old Sophia Marlene Silva, whose body was found a month later in a roadside creek. 7 months later, Evonitz struck again, this time abducting and killing 15-year-old Kristen Michelle Christie Flick and 12-year-old Catholic Nicole Katie List from their front lawn. He sexually assaulted and strangled both of them before dumping their bodies in a river. Around that time, Ivana started having a lot of mood swings, and day one came from frantically asking Bonnie if she would leave the country with him. I was like, "What do you mean? What the hell? Why would you ask me that?" she recalled. Ivana saved face by pretending he had a rough day at work and wanted to ensure that his wife would stay with him through thick and thin, as an answer she was happy to accept at the time. Bonnie said she and Evonitz divorced. She later remarried before his reign of terror came to an end in 2002. Bonnie stated, "It's taking a lot of time. It's been 22 years, and I have to say that at this point, I am doing pretty well with it. It definitely has its moments where it comes out, and in my current relationship or in my relationships over the last several years." So, guys, if you have any questions, any comments, please leave them down below. I will try to address them. If you would like, or if you could please hit this as a fun, I cannot talk today. My mouth is so dry, I need to take a drink. But if you would please click that like button and that notification bell so the next time I upload, you will get that notification. And please, please, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. So next time, guys, peace.